I understand it correctly. May season. Finish 1 matches in any online mode. Oh, it's because that's my rewards thing. Oh, what have I done? Where am I? In the wrong place, that's why. So I should unlock that, because then just winning the next one will open that up. I could do what Zua was saying earlier and use that last reward point somewhere else, but I think it makes sense to use it here for now. If I'm focusing on getting one of those decks next. What shall we do? I have a keg, apparently. This is Scoia'tael, maybe?
Yep. Must smash.
So it's not going to be useful for my current deck, but what have we got? Chameleon. Deploy... will infuse self with a random Scoia'tael primary category that you don't control. So like elf or something. Presumably, though, you'd have lots of elves. I guess that's useful because of Harmony. Supports Harmony archetype. Yeah. Okay. See? Some stuff is starting to stick, clearly. Order, you can replay itself and then reduce own base power by 1. Also, you can keep playing it and it keeps getting more and more. So, really good for Harmony then. Yeah. Interesting. Cat Witcher Adept. Deploy, give an enemy unit bleeding equal to the number of units on that unit's row. So Scoia'tael has bleeding stuff as well. And range row, give an allied unit vitality equal to the number of units on that unit's row. Maybe most people will use this card for vitality though. I've seen vitality decks more than I've seen bleeding decks. For Scoia'tael anyway. Nature's Rebuke. Damage an enemy unit by 5. Okay. Death Blow, boost a random allied treant by 2. So that is... I guess a 7 if you can actually kill something. Definitely better than the Thunder, but not maybe as good as Parasite. Watcher of the Valley. Give an enemy unit bleeding equal to the amount of boost on this card. Well, there you go. And if it's bonded, damage it by that amount instead. Clearly a lot of bleeding that I never knew existed. So, I've seen a lot of people play the Commando, the Norseals Commando. So presumably, that one's good. But then I've also seen people play the Elven Swordmaster. Whenever you play an elf. Yeah, so that's good, like, engine killing. Pond Keeper is best in the deck I want to suggest. Let's see what the Pond Keeper does. Damage an enemy unit by an allied Wandering Treant's power. Then reset the Wandering Treant. Deploy ranged, infuse a non-symbiosis allied unit with symbiosis. So, is your deck a Treant unit 1 or a Symbiosis unit 1? I guess it doesn't really make both a Treant and Symbiosis. Okay, fine. Yeah, I mean, I'll just go for it. I don't have any of them. I have seen them all used, I think.
Yum. Elfie soup.
Yeah, we can... Should we open some more? We can open at least Respect Plays Nature and Spawns Treants. Let's see. Cursed Toad. That's fine. We just want Scoia'tael. How many do we want? I know. No, that's not how you do it. 5, 7. Go for 10. That's right. If you've got ore, then feel free to spend it. Don't know.
Smash now.
Smash now. Open.
Wham bang smash.
This is where I realised I bought the wrong thing. No, it's so Dryad Enchantress, of which I already have 2. Do I recognise it? Symbiosis, deploy, gives an allied unit 4 armor or vitality if it's on the other row. I've already got 2 of these, although only one's premium. Damage 2 random enemy units by 2. That's actually quite strong. Oh, but low power. Fine. And maybe provision cost is... Nope, quite low. Nature's Rebuke we've just seen. And Dwarf Berserker. We had a game with dwarfs the other day. Not the other day. Like a few weeks ago now, I think. Barricade is if you're having armor, yes. At the end of your turn, damage stuff by 1, then damage a random enemy unit by 1. So you'll get 3 turns of damaging someone else.
Goody.
And the Dol Blathana Bowman we have just seen, which damages an enemy unit by 1 for each row that separates it from this unit. So it's either like 1, 2, or 3 damage. And the Smuggler, at the end of your turn, boost a random unit in your hand by 1. So there's hand boosting. There's lots of things in Scoia'tael which seem interesting. And the Bowman is good in Elves deck. Orca in hand buff archetype. Yeah. And I assume Giant Slayer is good in a dwarf deck. If you're playing dwarfs. Does it start with armor? No, but it has a barricade. At the end of your turn, damage changes unit by 1. Oh wait, choose an enemy unit. If its base power is higher than self's, gain 3 armor. So you play something bigger than it, then you play it, and you can end up damaging something. For 6 provision. Anyway, let's go with the elf one. Because maybe I'll have an elf deck. Starts with armor of certain leader ability if chosen. Or is that like all dwarfs? Do they all start with armor if you have a certain leader ability? Whisperer of Dol Blathana has Veil. When you play a special card, spawn a base copy of self on this row and remove a counter. I see. How does that add counters? Oh no, the base copies will have counters. Farseer, deploy boost an unboosted unit in your hand by the number of boosted units in your hand. Okay, that is... oh yes. I assume you're talking about the dwarf ability we were talking about a second ago. Boost an unboosted unit in your hand. So if you're doing hand boosting stuff, then you leave this one till like the end of your hand boosting and you will get a really big boost. Trickster, who's a bandit, move the last played enemy unit to the other row and infuse it with whenever your opponent plays an elf damage self by 1. I mean, that's quite mean. That's almost Nilfgaard-like. I suppose it is called the Trickster. And another Catwitcher Adept. Okay. So an epic pick. We can either have Vanadane, move up to 2 cards from your hand to the bottom of your deck, add Waylay to your hand for each moved that way. Whenever you play Waylay, spawn an Elven Deadeye on this row. Tactic, to damage an enemy unit by 3 and spawn an Elven Deadeye. Vanadine is only viable card here. So what are the other ones? Pitfall Trap, Ambush. When an opponent, I think I've seen people play this, plays a card face up, split damage equal to its provision cost randomly between all enemy units. Split damage equal to its provision cost randomly. So if its provision cost was 10 and there are 5 enemies, it'll do 2 damage Oh no, it splits it randomly. So it could do like 4 to one and 1 to another and 5 to someone else. Anyway, Spring splits 6 damage randomly. Spring is when it gets flipped. Anyway, and this dwarf is move a unit to the other ogre, but yeah. I mean, he's clearly the best. Trap decks are meme.
Crack! Smash!
Dryad's Caress. Purify an allied unit and boost it by 3. If you control the Dryad, also give it Vitality. I've already got 2, so it doesn't really matter anyway. I've got loads of those Enchantresses now. Oak Critters. Deploy on melee, give an enemy unit bleeding, so more bleeding. Clearly I'm learning that there's bleeding. On the range row, you spawn a base copy of self on this row. And if it has devotion, or sorry, if your deck is all green, Scoia'tael, then you get to do both. And Hawker support, boost a unit in your hand by 1. If that unit was already boosted, boost it by 3 instead. So more hand boosty stuff. So we've got the Commando is back. And Vriha Brigade. Damage an enemy unit by 2. Whenever it's moved, damage a random enemy unit by 2. So, works well if you have something which would move your own cards. I think the Commando is the better card to get. That's what I would go for, unless I hear something different in the next 5 seconds. Commando it is.
Whack, bang, wow! You know how?
So another Dryad's Caress, fine. A Trained Hawk, which is a Harmony card, and does damage on melee, or it can move a unit. So we were just talking if there's things which can move units, and that's one. But would you do it to... That other card was talking about damaging something by 2, was it? So it's just the same. This would do the damage if you deployed it in one place. And anyway. The Bomber's back, and Watcher of the Valley, which we saw earlier. So what have we got this time? So the Smuggler, which we were talking about hand boosting. We have the Cat Witcher Saboteur. On deploy, will move an enemy unit to the leftmost position on its row and damage it by 1. Increase the damage by 1 for each card it passed. Interesting. So if you're playing lots of cards on the right with high value, which you may just do, then it's going to get hit by a lot. Or the Saboteur, deploy, he will boost an allied unit by 1. If you control an artifact, boost an allied unit by 3 instead. Smuggler I'd pick. Yeah. I can see uses for these. Although I can't remember what an artifact is. Which one's an artifact? Is artifact what you have to start with? Dryad Fledgling, which is just Harmony and points. Circle of Life, which we already have 2 of, so... But what does it do? Damage an enemy unit by 3, and boost non-neutral unit in your hand by 2. Artifact is what stands in the field but has no power. Yeah, so if you play first, you start with an artifact. Your artifact, right? Fine. Chameleon we've seen earlier. Panther, which is a beast. Deploy on melee gives you 2 damage, and on range will do 4 bleeding. No, that's tactical advantage. Oh. So an artifact is a different thing which you can play onto the field. So is a trap an artifact? Mana's an artifact. Mana's a scenario. attack to advantage is a stratagem. There's lots of words coming out. So, mana as an artifact and a scenario is the trap card we saw earlier. Is that an artifact and a trap? Whilst you're telling me all the things about the game, its type is artifact. Oh, like this? Or... because these are like special... this makes it special, and this makes it a unit. Types are unit, special, artifact, stratagem. Okay, yeah. These are categories. These are types. When there's an artifact card in the future, point me one out, and I'll be like, oh, one of those, got it. Okay. What? Which one of these do we want? So, boost an allied unit by 5 if it's a dwarf. Also give it 2 armor, so that's good in a dwarf deck. Harvest is good here. What does Harvest do? Create and play a bronze elf. Okay, then depending on the position of the chosen unit, boost the leftmost or random or the rightmost unit in your hand. Oh, okay, so if you choose the leftmost on the create, it will boost the left. I see. And the sappers, purify an allied unit. If you control an elf, purify an ally, any unit. Okay. Yeah. Let's go with the create one. I haven't done a lot of creation yet.
Whack, bang, wow! That me know how!
So another Whisperer of Dolblathana, a Miner, which boosts an allied unit by 2 for an order. Sorry, if it's a dwarf, also give it 4 armor. So again, the dwarfs play a lot into boosting other dwarfs. It's almost like when I saw that dwarf deck the other day, that it was just pretty much all dwarfs because they're just boosting other dwarf stuff. Another bowman. An elven seer. When you target this unit with a bronze special card, spawn and play a copy of that special card. So like if something was to boost this, or that thing that we had which could have moved one of our allied units, then we would get another one of those.
Oh, shiny.
Shiny. So we already have a Lake Guardian. The Treant Mantis Stalk. Well, you were talking about a Treant deck earlier, so I assume maybe the trap maybe goes into your Treant deck? Maybe not. Transform. Paulie is better here. He's a dwarf. Move a unit to the other row. Order given allied unit 2 armor. I'm not going to say he's bad, but doesn't seem very special in terms of what he does. This trap doesn't fit at all. Fair enough. So, Pyrotechnician, another dwarf, which has an order to damage a random enemy unit and self by 4, which is dangerous because it only has 2 armor. But fine. Oak critters we've already seen earlier. Dwarven Mercenary. Is this premium? Because they're moving. Is it just random luck that you might get premium cards? Deploy damage yourself by 1 for each non-dwarf unit in your hand. Damage yourself by 1 for each non-dwarf. So you have to play this in a dwarf deck. Yes, one random. And another dwarf miner. This was clearly a dwarf hand. We already have 2 Duin Canal Guardians. We already have a Neophyte. I've seen these played more often. If you're going to be doing the whole elf to Elven Deadeye thing, I guess you'd go with one of those again. If you're going to go dwarf deck, I guess you'd go with one of those. So, I don't know. I probably should have gone with the other one, because what will happen is I'll get another one of those for free next time. Elves are stronger. Okay, so maybe I took the right path. Another Miner, another Druid Fledgling, another Farseer, which we've already got 2 of, so lots of duplicates now. So we can either have the Three-Head Saboteur, which we saw earlier, but we chose not to have. We can have a backup plan. Damage the last unit played by your opponent by 2, and create a Bronze Scoia'tael Elf with a deployability that was not in your starting deck. The card was not in the starting deck, not the fact that the deployability was not in the starting deck. And elves are getting a buff tomorrow. Well, this is a great time to be picking up cards for elves, then, isn't it? So this doesn't seem like a bad card, but you'll probably tell me to get... Oh no, backup plan is very good. Okay. We saw again this one we saw earlier, I think, Tempering. It's good for a dwarf deck. So let's go with the backup plan.
One bang smash! Battle now is trash!
Hammer Dryad, which we already have 2 of, so at the end of your turn, this unit has Vitality boost off by 1, and it has Symbiosis. Yeah, I think we saw that in the deck against us a couple times. Panther we saw earlier. Dryad's Caress we saw earlier and now have 5 of them. And our Dryad Ranger, which we didn't see earlier, but we've got 2 anyway. Harmony, deploy melee, damage an enemy unit by 2, or ranged poisons an enemy. So does the Scoia'tael have some poison stuff as well? Or is there only like a couple units?
Goody!
And see, he's back. Crushing Trap, which spring damage all units on a row by 1. I mean, that's good. Or Ambush on a timer, damage all enemy units on the row with the most units by 2. I think I've had that played against me and it's been very annoying. Dwarven Chariot, which is, if you put it on the melee row, will boost itself by 4 and gain 2 armor. If you put it on the range row, it will spawn 2 Rowdy Dwarves on your melee row. So again, if I was going for dwarves, I would go with that, because it seems quite good. Is it just high provision? No, maybe it's not as good as I think it is. Rowdy Dwarf isn't that good, but... order, give an allied unit 1 armor, and it has a cooldown of 1, so you're just constantly giving your dwarfs armor. Both Trap and Chariot are good, but I'd rather take Chariot. Yeah, it does seem like a good card. Because dwarves need lots of armor, don't they? Or like, they play well with armor. They have barricade abilities and all that stuff. Yeah, Chariot also is guaranteed value. Because it's like the engine of giving armor. Hawker's Support, we saw earlier. Farseer again. Panther again. The Sappers we now didn't have to pick, we've just been given one. Purify an allied unit. Yes, fair enough. And we can either have another Pond Keeper, or we can have the Trap, which we just said no to, or a Cat, Witch, and Mentor, which, when you deploy, boosts health by the number of other cards on this row. That seems quite strong. I mean, it only starts with 1, though. Adrenaline 4, whenever a card appears on this row, boosts health by 1. Pond Keeper. But you're just saying that because it goes with your deck, though. If I was having to pick, I think I'd go with that one. But I'm willing to go with this one for now. Because I know what it's like. I'll be building a deck and I'll be kind of shown towards the Pond Keeper, and then I'll have to spend scraps on it anyway. All of them are good. Great. What we should do, because why not, is we're going to play one more game, and then I think we might call it a night. Just to see if we've forgotten how to play after opening up all those packs. I think we need to open up a few more Scoia'tael packs before we have maybe the... Well, because we're going to have to like get more scraps probably to build a few cards. So if we keep opening up Scoia'tael, and then we can focus on a deck that we want to build maybe next time or the time after. But, well, as I say, we'll see what happens. If there is a worthy rival, there's no one who's a worthy rival. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like, and if you think you would enjoy more, then please subscribe, or even join me live on Twitch. Whilst it's cliche, all of these will help the channel. On screen is something carefully curated, or something the YouTube algorithm suggests, or maybe even both. In any case, have a great day.